Hey, Gary. Happy Father's Day, man.
Yeah, same to you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Doing anything special?
Interviewing you.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we just had lunch. We grilled outside.
All right.
Like 3 of my kids and myself. We had a good lunch.
Good.
And then went to the movies while we record the podcast. And then when they come back, we'll go do something.
Oh, all right. Got a good day then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of laying low, closeted.
Yeah.
I keep in the closet.
All right.
Yeah, because my kids are something else.
All right.
They're a little spoiled.
Okay.
You know, after the divorce, it's kind of split the family up.
Oh, man. That's never good.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I always enjoy talking to people that have older people who've been around for a long time, who have seen a lot and experienced a lot. And you and I, we knew each other through mutual friends for a little bit, or at least we had mutual friends, and then I met you, and you're just learning about some of your story and the history of your family in Colorado, and with the books you've written and your world travels. I was very interested to have a conversation with you. I know you and me have been talking about this for some months now, and I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
Making it happen.
absolutely. So if for anybody listening, this is going to be a good conversation. So don't turn it off. Hear it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great conversation.
All the way to the end.
All the way to the end. That's
Yes.
right. We're saving the best for last. We have a secret we're going to reveal in the very end. So
Yes, indeed.
stay tuned. No, but so yeah, man. Can you start with when you were younger? And I read kind of some of the online. I was reading some of the history of your family and kind of the history of your family being one of the first, or the first, black family to own property
Right.
in Jefferson County, Colorado, as well as being the first black children to attend.
Attend and graduate from a Jefferson County school.
Yeah, can you tell us about that?
Well, a little bit of history as far as my dad. There's a story behind him buying the house. At the time when he was here in 1944, 1945, right after he got out of the war, at the time there's still laws in the book that a black man could not purchase property in Colorado. So the way he got around it was he had a Jewish friend who purchased the property for him and then deeded it over to him later. That's how he got the property. Otherwise, it would not have happened. So, he was determined that he was going to live in the area. He made a name for himself. He started working for himself. He was a bricklayer. He was a mason. He was a concrete. He ended up building all the houses that you see pretty much in the Lakewood area. Those houses and the driveways and the brick. He laid most of that. He
Like
was
the
part
older,
of that.
like the older houses.
Yeah, the older houses in the 1950s that were constructed in the back then they call it the Alameda area. Now they call it Lakewood. But that whole area, yeah, he was part of the construction of all that. Same way, as you know, the history about the Villa Italia Shopping Center, he is part of that too. He helped build a lot of that. But the history behind the Villa Italia Shopping Center, it was a company that contracted with the people who lived in the area. They wanted a mall that it was close enough to them, but yet affordable for them too. Rather than going all the way across town to Cherry Creek Mall, to all the other malls, they wanted their own mall. So the families got together and devoted it in, and it made it happen. But the lawyer that was part of that, he was smart enough to say, okay, when we build this, the taxes cannot be assessed any more than 3%. So when Lakewood got a hold of it, they started raising taxes and found out they couldn't do it. So the best way they can do it was to condemn the Villa Italia Shopping Center. Condemn it. That way they could change it and reconstruct it, retax it.
Are you saying the reason they tore down the Villa Italia Shopping Center is for tax?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. It's all about money.
Wow.
I always know it's all about money. And a lot of the families, I mean, people were coming across town to the Villa Italia Shopping Center because everything was pretty cheap. The taxes were cheap. And Lakewood had to change that, because if you notice now, Lakewood's taxes are higher than Denver, higher than Inglewood, higher than most cities around us. And how did that happen? Well, City of Lakewood, that's what their intent was to do. Now, basically, during my research, I discovered the City of Lakewood raised the taxes in order to keep, now listen to this, to keep the Mexicans and the blacks from crossing Sheridan into Lakewood. They figured the higher the taxes were, the less they would want to do that, come and purchase property. But it didn't work. It didn't work. So everything was named Alameda, which associated to the families. Everything was called Alameda. Alameda Bank, Alameda Shopping Center, Alameda everything. And the moment that Lakewood was voted in, all those names changed. See if you can find anything called Alameda, because they even tried to change Alameda Road to something else.
Well, we still have Alameda High School.
It's international. How many times have they tried to close that school?
Oh, yeah.
They've tried to close it so many times.
Yeah, it's called Alameda International.
It's an international school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Alameda was the first school in Jefferson County.
So what's the
diversity?
What is where is the origin of the name Alameda?
Alameda comes from the road Alameda. Actually, it started in California. If you know, there's a Alameda road in California called Alameda. As they moved farther west to Colorado started naming streets. It wasn't always called Alameda. And the original Alameda school was in Denver, wasn't in Lakewood. There's actually a school called Alameda off of Alameda.
So
Alameda and Broadway, pretty close to there.
Why did Lakewood want to get rid of the name Alameda, though?
Because it was associated to the families. Now understand this. The families in the Alameda area were diverse. Germans, Italians, blacks, Mexicans, all together. But the farther you got out of the Alameda area into the original Lakewood area, it was all white.
Yeah, Lakewood's pretty white, even now.
Well, it is now because of a reason. There's a reason for that. If you understand, before it became Lakewood, Denver tried to annex the area. So the people in the Alameda area were forced to either vote for Lakewood or for Denver. Now, the people of Lakewood, which my dad knew well, the ones who constructed Lakewood, because he did work for them, what they wanted to do, and they promised all the people in the Alameda area that, number one, nothing would change. Their taxes would not change. Their property taxes would not change. Most of the people in the area worked out of their homes, that's what most families did. First thing Lakewood did when they took over, they zoned that out. Could not work out of your home anymore.
Yeah.
And that forced a lot of people in the Alameda area out of the area.
Yeah. So where was your dad's first house at?
First house was 6140 West Center, right off of Harlan Street and Center, right by the school, the elementary school that used to be called South Alameda.
Ah, that Alameda. Where's Center at? Center's like just a couple blocks away from Alameda, right? Like to the north?
It's to the south.
Or to the south?
Yeah, to the south.
Okay. I thought it was by First Ave.
No, it's the other
way?
direction, yeah.
Okay. All right. So is that Dean Elementary?
It's called Dean now.
Yeah. Okay.
It was named after the Dean sisters. Dean, that taught at that school for a long time. They know our family well, very well.
So 1944, your dad bought that house.
Well, no, he attempted. He was still in the service at that time. Remember, the war was not over until 1944. Then 1945, things. He started traveling. He came to Colorado. He went to Pueblo. He went to different parts of Colorado until he came to Denver and decided he liked Denver because things were pretty relaxed at that time. There was not as much prejudice going on in the Denver area until he moved west. Then he ran into a lot of oppositions.
West in Lakewood or further west?
No, west in Lakewood.
West in Lakewood.
At the time, like I said, it was called the Alameda area.
Yeah.
Then you had Lakewood. Then you had Golden.
Right.
And those are the areas that had problems with.
Yeah. And then, so tell me about when you first, because it was you that went to school first as one of the first black kids that went in Jefferson County public schools, or other kids from your family?
No, my older brothers and my sister were the first to go to the Alameda schools at that time. And my oldest brother was the first black person to graduate from Alameda, from a Jefferson County school. My sister was the first female to graduate. And we all were pretty much contributed into the sports. Baseball.
First black female?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What year did they graduate?
My sister graduated in 1966. Oldest brother, he's 5 years older. So what was that? 62, 63. Right down the line. Now, there was 9 of us that all graduated from Alameda.
Wow.
Now, get this. My son graduated from Alameda. My oldest son. Yeah.
Wow. Doesn't even seem like that's that long ago, really, for me, because I was born in the 70s. But, wow, it's crazy to think that, at that time in Denver, Denver was kind of a small town still, kind of, I guess, in the middle of America.
Well, it was, but you have to understand, Denver, actually the Golden area was the home, and it still is, home of the KKK.
I heard that Canyon City was a big area for that too.
But yeah, it was, but not as big as Denver was in Golden, because where we talk about the cruising the streets and stuff.
They're in Golden. They still do that now.
Yeah, cruising started from when the KKK had their meetings. When the meeting was over, they'd go cruising. They'd cruise down Colfax. They'd come down Colfax to Sheridan, come back around on Sheridan, all the way down to Alameda. And they even made some rounds on the center, because there were several times I remember my dad grabbing me, throwing me inside, and I heard gunfire. Wow. And he would walk around in the front yard with a .45 in his back pocket.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I moved to Colorado in 1992, they were cruising down Federal, and I think they would go, I don't know, some other streets they would go down. But it was like everybody was cruising.
Oh, yeah. And it became a big...
There wasn't no KKK.
Deal. No, but what I'm saying is the KKK started it.
Wow.
Yeah, they're the ones who started the cruising in Colorado, because that was their line. They go right down Colfax, and they take Golden. Colfax took you all the way up into the Golden.
Yeah.
All the way up in Golden.
Absolutely. This episode is brought to you by the Josh Henry Workshop, where craftsmanship meets purpose. Whether you're in the kitchen slicing up dinner, out in the woods, or just need a reliable everyday carry, the Josh Henry Workshop has you covered. Every knife is handmade and hand-forged in the good old USA in North Carolina by a veteran-owned small business that puts heart, heritage, and pride into every blade. Michael, what do you think about the Josh Henry Workshop knives?
Jeremiah, I love the quality of the Josh Henry Workshop knives. These are not mass-produced tools. They are custom pieces built to last with real attention to detail. So if you're looking for a knife that works as hard as you do, check out the Josh Henry Workshop. You'll find your new favorite blade, and you'll be supporting a small business that truly cares about the craft. Visit the Josh Henry Workshop on either Instagram or Facebook at Josh Henry Workshop to learn more or to place a custom order today.
So they'd come down Golden all the way.
And what were they doing? Were they like driving cars, show cars, or were they trying to start trouble?
Well, they were looking for it. Now, remember, a lot of the Jews who still live off of Colfax and Sheridan,
right,
in that area,
yeah,
they were looking for them as well as any minorities.
So they were out. They weren't cruising like people cruise now for fun on a Sunday afternoon. They were cruising to like start problems.
Well, they were looking for trouble.
Yeah,
let's just say that. You know, they're looking for whatever they could find. You know, that's crazy. You could hear them whooping and hollering and shooting off their guns.
Shooting guns.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And what the police do about this?
Hey, they were part of the KKK.
Yeah. That's what I heard about Canyon City, actually. Like because Canyon City has a lot of correctional officers because a lot of prisons down there.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of at least years ago, I'm not saying that's the case now, but I heard years ago, back in those days, a lot of those correctional officers were KKK members.
Right. Well, there was sometimes, like with my sister, we played sports. We played baseball, football, basketball. But my sister, she had a lot of problems because a lot of teams, when they found out my sister was playing, they refused to play. They would pack up and leave. They did not want to play with any black people.
Man.
I had, there's many times I was in a classroom. We had a substitute teacher. Substitute teacher came from Texas or from the South. They looked at me, they walked out and told the principal, there's a black kid in there. I don't teach black people. And that just comes from their culture, because remember, back in the early times, it was illegal to teach a black person, to educate them.
Wow.
And that's kind of why a lot of African Americans don't understand that the first language is not English. The first language is Spanish, because it was okay to teach them Spanish but not English.
Yeah, expand on that a little bit, because you talked to me about this before. You told me this story, so explain that.
Well, if you understand the true history, you have to understand the African American side of the history of what actually placed.
Here, get that mic a little closer in front of you there.
Okay.
There you go.
Let me take you all the way back to where in school you're taught that who discovered Florida?
Oh, they teach Christopher Columbus. Yeah.
No, who discovered Florida? Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon?
Yeah, Ponce de Leon. But there was more to that story that they left out in it. It wasn't just Ponce de Leon. There was 2 black Africans that were not slaves that traveled that voyage along with Ponce de Leon and landed in Florida. And the reason we know this is because there was a Native American group there called the Seminole Indians. The Seminole Indians are known as Black Indians because that group intermingled with those 2 Africans and intermingled with that. After years and years and years, they were known as Black Indians.
You're saying 2 black guys turned the whole tribe black?
Pretty much. Oh, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And the reason I say, if you see one black, Native American, they all must be black. That was the mentality. You see 3 Indians walking in single file, they must all walk in single file. That was the mentality back then. But no, if you go back and do the research, because those Indians were forced out of Florida, I think it was the 1880 Native American War with the United States. They were forced out of Florida into Louisiana, and a lot of them went into Mexico. Now, I understand during the slave time, Mexico was not part of the slave trade. Matter of fact, it was illegal to have slaves in Mexico. And if you had runaway slaves that went into Mexico, the Mexican government didn't allow it. You got killed.
You couldn't go get them.
You could not go get them.
Yeah.
Could not.
Yeah.
So that was a refuge for them. And again, that's where that Spanish comes in again, because now they're getting educated. Even at the Alamo, they won't tell you that there is many African Americans in the Alamo that fought at the Alamo. Our history don't tell you that, but there were that survived it and wrote their own history of what took place there. And you can find that in the Texas, Louisiana libraries, but it's called the Black Libraries.
Yeah, I've met quite a few black Mexicans. Yeah, they look straight black. Speak Spanish.
Yes,
I've met Asian ones that look Asian, and they speak Spanish.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the diversity that's actually in Mexico. People think they're just, brown, stereotypical Mexicans, but you can find white Mexicans, black Mexicans, Asian Mexicans.
Now, when you say Mexicans, you have to be careful, because just because they speak Spanish doesn't make them Mexicans. Now, remember, in 1926, the American government did a door knock and spoke Spanish to you. And if you spoke Spanish back, they put you on a bus and they shipped you to Mexico.
Yeah, you told me this story before. Explain that.
Now, the Mexican government got pissed off and said, now, wait a minute, because they were doing a census. The American government was doing a census. So anybody who spoke Spanish was considered to be Mexicans. Now, remember, in 1926, they contributed the Mexicans as the ones that were the downfall to the American government at that time. There was a famine going on, and there was no work. So they said, this is Mexicans taking our jobs from us, the Mexicans this and that. So the president said, okay, we'll ship them out. We'll send them back to Mexico. That's what they did, a no-knock. They shipped them out. And that's why a lot of the Mexican people, as well as my parents, would not teach their kids Spanish, because they knew it would happen again. Actually, most of them were American citizens because they were born and raised in America. But yet, they had homes, they had businesses and everything else. They lost it all.
So just so I understand this correctly, you're saying there was no checking people's legal status by paperwork.
No.
It was merely what they spoke out of their mouth.
Right.
That's it.
That was it. Almost what's going on today.
I was going to say, it's funny how history repeats itself sometimes.
It's happening right now today.
To your point, when I lived in California, I knew a lot of Hispanic families that parents didn't speak much English at all. Kids didn't speak any Spanish at all. They never taught it to them.
Right. That's the reason why even today, they still won't do it, because they're afraid that's going to happen again. And we're just right around the corner from it. Yeah.
Well, I hope not.
Well,
I hope we've grown since then, right? It's a different world today. It's supposed to be.
Yeah. No, we have not learned a thing.
It doesn't seem like we learned much. There's a lot of countries that, like Bosnia, with all the stuff they went through, like years ago, I think that was back in the late 80s, early 90s or something, when they had their genocide in Bosnia. Right now, Bosnia is going through a bunch of political turmoil. So it's like, man, are these guys going to is this going to happen again? And look what just happened the other day with Israel and Iran, and then everything that's just going on in the Middle East. It's like it just keeps repeating and repeating.
It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It makes it pretty dangerous in how you and what you teach your kids today. But look what is happening as well. The government's trying to destroy all of the real history. They don't want to. It's going to be harder for a teacher to teach true history. It's going to be one-sided history again, because a lot of the time we don't want to teach our kids about slavery or slaves. Like my son, I go around with him all the time. He believes there was never a Holocaust because there's books out that says that you can read that said that the Holocaust never happened.
Yeah.
But explain that to the Jewish people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of people that were murdered, a lot of Jews that were murdered in World War II, a lot. And that's been proven. A lot of Russians have lost their lives. A lot of people lost their lives in World War II. You can't deny that.
Oh, yeah. But as long as there's history books that says, nah, it didn't happen, those books are going to stay.
Wow.
But the books that says there was a Holocaust are out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't care what your beliefs are if you don't want to associate with a particular group of people, but don't deny facts.
Don't deny the history.
Yeah.
Don't deny the history. Same way with the Native Americans. Their history, there's a lot more to that history. A lot more. Because as I discovered, believe it or not, I'm Native American. My parents' blood is Native American because of the Seminole Indians. They are African American / Seminole Indian. And I don't think my parents knew that. But I discovered it. And I did not discover it here in the States. I discovered it in England. They have documentaries of everything that took place. A better history than what we have. Because you know why? It's not doctored up. It's the true facts.
So how is now? I doubt two black guys turned the whole Seminole tribe into black people. It had to be a lot more mixing than that, because there was a lot of slave ports in the Caribbeans and all of that area up to Florida and all throughout there. So it's probably a lot of mixing happening at that point, I would think.
After we're talking about 100 years later. But during that time, no, these two lived with the Seminole Indians. And matter of fact, when the American government started to push them out, it was those two that were, in other words, there was a warrant out for both, and there was the rest.
Two of them.
Yeah.
Well, God bless them. They were making a lot of babies. It sounds like.
Well, no, it's just the idea that after a generation passes and you see a dark Native American, you'd say, now wait a minute. And then when some of the Native Americans called themselves Blackfoot, why would you call yourself a Blackfoot? Well, their feet are black.
There's some pretty dark Native Americans too, original Native Americans. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But these were actually black. They were, their bloodline comes directly from those two conquistadors.
Wow.
That's what you want to call them, because that's what they were.
Wow, that's fascinating.
But they were not slaves.
Yeah. Man, that's fascinating. I did want you to expand on the Spanish that black people spoke. I think we kind of breezed over that.
Yeah.
And why? You told me before why black people at that time were speaking Spanish.
Well, it's because it was illegal for somebody to educate them, especially in the English. But it's okay for Spanish, other languages. And most of my parents' roots come from Texas. And even those Native Americans, the Seminole Indians, guess what? They spoke Spanish too.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
even though they had their own native language, after a while, in order for them to communicate with the American government, they had to have somebody who could communicate between them. And Spanish was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying that black people spoke Spanish, a lot of black families spoke Spanish because they were not allowed to speak English.
Or be taught to read English.
How would they communicate with white people around them?
There was no white people around them. The Native Americans and the two blacks. But even in Texas, if you notice, it was segregated big time. You had your colored, you had your white.
Okay.
Same way with your schools. You had your colored and you had your white.
Huh.
Now, a lot of the colored schools were raided because of the books that they were being taught out of, which was English.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Especially
crazy.
the KKK went nuts over that. You can't teach those kids, your kids, English. But they had no problems with Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a friend of mine on here on the podcast. He's black, and we were talking about this Corey. Corey's his name. We were talking about like why are a lot of the black youth seem to be not getting any better, like a portion of them. Not the ones that don't have not the ones that have parents or someone kind of guiding them, but ones that maybe don't have the best, mentors around. And he said his explanation was, when you have a group of people that, you affected by not letting them be educated,
Right.
and you keep them from getting better over a period of time, it just keeps deteriorating.
Right.
And I would think if you're a racist white person, why wouldn't you want those people to act good in a way that you can tolerate if you're a racist white person? And educating them helps with that. At least having them, you may not like them, but you don't want them to terrorize your society by being uneducated, because when you're uneducated, you can't, it's harder to function. It's harder to have a job. It's harder to function with society, communicate. Even like you said, when you mentioned the language thing, it just seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot by making people you don't like even worse off. I don't know. It seems counterproductive to me, or counterintuitive.
Well, it is, but if you understand that those people back in the southern states, they did not believe they were racist. That was their culture. They were taught. That was a culture that was taught to them. You separate yourself from the blacks. You don't teach the blacks. You read the story about Huckleberry Finn, right?
Sure.
And how that played into the culture of things. Well, that was true. A lot of people, even in the South today, will say, I'm not racist. Well, you got any black friends? No. Do you want any? No. They don't believe that they're racist. And turn the table. Same way with black people. Yeah, I see them. Well, I'm not racist. Well, really? You're not racist? What are you always talking about? Here's the bad thing that I tell my son all the time. Everybody talks about how black on black crime. Well, why is there so much black on black crime? And I explained it to him this way. There was a book out that you could get and read. It's called Jack Dempsey. It was The Great White Hope, where this is a boxer who started boxing, and he was constantly knocking out all the white components. They could not find anybody to stand in the ring with him more than 3 or 4 rounds. They had Italians, they had Russians, Germans, and whatever. And that was a sport. They would bet on it. That got old. That was no fun anymore. But let's put a black person in there with him and watch two black people beat up on each other. That was popcorn time. Let's sit back and enjoy this, because that's what they had. There's where black on black crime started, because you had people rooting for who? Two black people beating up each other? That's black on black crime, because they didn't just beat up on each other, they tried to kill each other.
Yeah, didn't they, at a certain point in history, didn't they fight to the death?
Yeah. They would not let them out of the ring.
Yeah.
If they could stand, you stay in the ring. But that's where it began, because it escalated from there. You see a lot of sports. Back in the 20s, a black person could not play baseball. And then it escalated from that in the 30s and 40s, and even in the early 50s. A black person was not smart enough to be a quarterback. Then it escalated a little bit more. A black person was smart enough to be a coach. But look at the progression. And what is it today? So when we talk about, you got a black coach, let's just give you an example on the Raiders, a black coach in the Raiders, and in Denver you have a black coach. Those two black coaches are playing against each other. And it becomes a war. You're black on black crime.
No, I don't think that's the same thing.
Well, let me give you another example. My dad did not want us to play baseball. Now, this is his thinking, because baseball teaches you how to steal. Once you steal something, then you run home with it. White people don't want you to steal and run home. Now, if you think about it, it's funny, but when you really think about the core of that, what he was really saying is true.
Yeah, your dad was teaching you a moral lesson, but
yes,
it probably wasn't the best analogy, because you wanted to play baseball,
right?
Probably, and you didn't play, I take it. Well,
no, we still played. He didn't like it because he'd be sitting there in the stands and it said, "Run home, run home." Well, you have the same thing now.
Well, it's home base.
No, they don't say home base. They say run home. No, you get somebody come from out of the country right now, and they know nothing about baseball, and they're watching the game, and somebody's telling this kid, "Run home, run home." What do you think is in their mind? That kid's going to run home. Why are you telling him to run home?
I think it's just a coincidence.
You don't understand. But if you understood the game, it's not a coincidence.
No?
But if you don't understand the game, it's real.
Yeah. Do you want some water? I forgot to ask you earlier.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Some seltzer as well.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, so you graduated from high school.
Right.
And from Alameda High School,
Alameda High School, 67.
67. And then did you go to the military yet?
No.
And you never joined the military?
No, I was a journalist. I was able to travel all over pulling up stories. Matter of fact, that's how I ended up in Vietnam. I was able to go to Vietnam and talk to the 7 seats of the Viet Cong government. They know me well. Matter of fact, when they had their 30th reunion, they gave me an invite to come over to it. But it's kind of weird because in Vietnam, they call it the American War. We call it the Vietnam War. But what I discovered was we were not fighting Vietnamese people. I got documentations, like I was telling you about, for my book. When I was writing my book, when I got ready to publish it, the American government seized it. Says, "You're not going to publish this. We're going to hold this." They held it for 6 years.
What do you mean we were not fighting Vietnamese people?
Okay, we were fighting Russians, Germans, Chinese, Japanese.
Gary.
Really, because they were the ones who were funding them.
Oh,
all the funding,
but not physically fighting them.
Right.
Okay.
All the money.
A proxy war, I guess.
You almost had me confused there, because
But
go ahead.
No, wait a minute, because I got pictures when you run across a 6'2" Vietnamese. You said, "Wait a minute, do you know what Vietnamese means in French? It's a French word."
No.
Little people.
Okay.
And you got a 6'7" little person. Say, wait a minute, who are you actually fighting?
Maybe that.
You had Russians on the ground there. You had Germans on the ground. You had all of Europe almost on the ground there, fighting.
Wait a minute. Germans?
Germans too.
In the 70s?
No, this was in the 50s, 60s.
Well,
And it ended in the 70s.
The Vietnam War, started in the
75.
60s?
Yeah.
And ended in
No,
74.
it actually started right after the Korean War. Actually, it was going on even during the Korean War. Then people got drafted. The draft started in the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay. So you're saying Germans were involved?
Oh, yep.
Germany?
Germans were involved.
Really?
Yes.
After what just happened with them in World War II,
Yeah.
and all the sanctions that were on them and the controls that were on them.
They were still funding money to keep Americans out of Vietnam. And here's why. If you know the history,
Tell us why.
The history of Vietnam is every major superpower in the world has tried to take over Vietnam and failed. Now, if the United States goes in there and does their dance and takes over it, that's a slap in every one of their faces.
Is this when everybody was trying to get rubber from them?
No. Understand, Vietnam is the middle of the access to the world. If you have Vietnam, you have access within minutes to any part of the world. I mean, it's a major hub. I mean, if you have a military which United States had a military base in Vietnam. I think it was in Bien Hoa. What I was able to research, but that military base was their number one target. They wanted that military base out of there. And they did everything they can. Matter of fact, there was going to be a major offensive on Bien Hoa to get rid of that military base, and the American government issued a 24-hour get out of the country, which they knew they couldn't do.
So Bien Hoa, what's Bien Hoa?
Bien Hoa is a part of Vietnam.
Okay.
It's a little city in Vietnam, just a little bit southeast of Ho Chi Minh.
Okay.
So not very far at
Okay.
all. But American government issued get out. You got 24 hours to get out because they knew there was going to be a major offensive on them.
You're saying this was during in the war?
Yeah, during the war.
Yeah.
At just about the end of the war.
Yeah.
When from what I discovered, there was no way the United States could have won that war. It was really a war against it was a war against the Middle East countries, all of them.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, it was a war against them. They're the ones who did not want the United States in Vietnam.
The Middle Eastern countries?
Yes.
And Germany.
Part of the Middle East.
Germany?
Yeah.
No.
You got Turkey. You got Russia. You got even Crimea. You got all those countries, which was normally called Asia.
Sure.
Asia Minor. Those are
Yeah. I could see. Okay. So what
So Asia did not want the United States in Vietnam.
Yeah. Just didn't want the United States to have a base strategically.
Not just a base.
Yeah.
No ties in Vietnam.
Yeah. Kind of like the way countries react all the time anyways. Like China right now is expanding to like Africa and South America and a bunch of different places.
Yeah, they want to annex them and have their presence there.
Right.
So it's almost like Italy. Now, a lot of people, according to their history books, Italy was part of the war with Germany against the United States and the other countries, right? No, it wasn't Italy. It was only the northern part of Italy. Anything south of the Kona line, they weren't part of that war. They had nothing to do with it. It was just the northern part of Italy. Well, it's the same way with Vietnam. It was exactly the same way. You had that split. Where even in a lot of people in Vietnam now will not refer to it as Ho Chi Minh, because that's Viet Cong. They'll call it Saigon. That's the old city, the old country. And they still don't like the VC. That's what they say, VC. I don't talk about VC.
Yeah. So you've been to Vietnam?
About 25 times.
25 times?
Oh, yeah.
Well, is you part of your family is from?
Yeah.
Your wife?
Right.
Yeah, is from Vietnam. Right. And you wrote a book. One of your books references some stories from Vietnam, right?
Right. Just One Moment in Time, which I had to change. In order to get it published, I had to change it.
Explain. What do you mean? You had
Because
tell us about
in the story about Just One Moment in Time, there's this Vietnamese family who discovered a wounded American soldier in this field. They brought him into their home and took care of him. Brought him and nursed him back to health. Well, the Viet Cong soldiers heard about it, and they came looking for him. The family hid him out, and he was able to survive. But eventually, they caught up with him and killed him. Now, right after 1975, all the soldiers were sent back out of Vietnam. So this family, I think it was Nixon who pardoned all them and said any of the GIs who had family in Vietnam, they were allowed to bring those families over to the United States. Well, the American government pretty much lied to the family of this one GI because his brother knew that there was something wrong. He went to Vietnam searching for his brother and ran across this family who knew everything about him. So that's the way the story goes. And it comes to the point to where this family, the youngest daughter, she goes to college. She comes to Colorado. She goes to Boulder and graduates. She becomes a lawyer. So she goes to the American government and tries to have the body brought to the United States. Well, their family tried to do it several times. Their lawyers failed. Everybody failed. But she was able to do it. And she fought against the United States government and won. That was a big thing for the family, because now the brother and the family realized how the American government lied to them so much about what happened to their family member. They said he died in this big battle of this and that and whatever, and gave him the Purple Heart and everything else, and they didn't buy any of it. But there's so many other stories like that too, not just this one. But this one was documented because I went and I actually did the research, and I talked to the 7 seats of the Viet Cong government. They gave me documents that would blow your mind.
Well, tell me about it.
You would not believe some of the pictures that they gave me of during the last offensive, when the American soldiers had to get out of Vietnam, where there was helicopters. You could only have so many people on the helicopter. The helicopter could not lift up.
Right.
So they started kicking people off.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that were holding onto the rails and stuff, they'd step on their fingers to make them. And you would not.
American soldiers?
Yes. Yeah.
Doing that to other American soldiers?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But they were ordered to do that. Otherwise, that helicopter would not be able to get off the ground.
And so those
started to raise up. It's too much weight.
Okay, they were trying to get out of places or something?
They had to get out because the Viet Cong were moving in on them.
Yeah.
Is it going to be suicide?
Oh,
you know?
So those people got left there permanently. They didn't get another ride out?
No. They got left behind. Most of them were massacred.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
And the Agent Orange, and I got pictures of where the Marines went in to a small village, and was ordered nothing to be left alive there. No cats, no dogs, no nothing. Babies, no children, women, men, whatever. They destroyed everything that moved in there. It's like, you wouldn't believe it unless you saw the pictures. When they were telling me about it, I was like,
yeah, I have heard that. There was plenty of instances where soldiers were doing that, wiping out entire villages, and there was actually other soldiers that complained about it and filed complaints about what some of the soldiers were doing. But what you're saying is that they were ordered to do it.
Yeah, they were ordered to do it. They didn't just do it on their own. They were ordered to do that.
That's not the story that I seen. It's on a documentary I was watching, but of course, I don't know if that's just a watered down version of the truth. But the documentary I watched a few documentaries about Vietnam, and one of them said that same thing. It made it sound like some rogue soldiers did stuff like that, and other soldiers complained about it.
Well, no, and this is documented as well. Now, the Viet Cong, let me give you an example. The Viet Cong was on the top of the hill, and the American soldiers surrounded it. So they needed to take the hill. So your captain comes to you and says, you, and you, go up that hill right now. I want you to go up the hill. You're going to draw fire. So we know exactly where they are.
Mm.
But you look at who were those three people? 2 blacks and a Mexican.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Michael, let me see if I can find some cough drops for you. Yeah. Hold on one second, Gary. Let me see if I can get him some cough drops. He's hurting.
No, I'm trying to hold it in. I'm struggling over here.
All right, we got Michael all taken care of. It happens. I hate a cough. When I get sick and I get a cough, that's the worst thing. I could have a body flu. I've had COVID 3 times.
Really?
Doesn't bother me. Well, you're sick. That part bothers me, but the cough, the worst. I don't care how bad the flu, my body aches. I don't care about none of that. The cough, oh man, I can't stand a cough. My doctor taught me. He's the one who taught me this trick with a cough, because I was getting a cough every winter, and he said, "Oh, he's like, have you ever used an inhaler when you're coughing?" I said, "No, I don't have asthma. I don't use an inhaler." He said, "It doesn't matter." He said, "I'm going to write you a prescription. Use the inhaler."
Interesting.
And he said, what happens is some of the muscles in your throat, when you start coughing, they contract and they just stay seized up, and the inhaler relaxes and releases those muscles.
Oh, and it'll just get rid of the cough?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he said just a couple puffs.
It's good to know. My wife's got asthma, so we got inhalers all over the place.
Yeah. So try it.
All right.
Yeah, just take a couple puffs. But yeah, sorry, we were talking Vietnam. You were saying that they sent the 3 soldiers up to the top of the hill to draw the fire so they could see where the
Viet Cong soldier, where the fire was coming from.
Here, get that mic in front of you.
Yeah, where they could see where the live firing rounds were coming from. But those 3 guys become what? Coys?
Well, they become dead at that point.
Yeah, and that's what happened. Yeah,
man.
But the random choice of you,
and now this is the 60s, early 70s. So you're still talking some of the same type of behavior.
Well, yeah, you still. I mean, the country is still. Let's just say it the way it should be said. The country during the 50s, 60s, and early 70s prejudiced to an extent that you would not believe. And on both sides, not just white people, but it's reverse prejudice as well. Because if you were brought up in a country that is really prejudiced about you, you become prejudiced too. You don't want to admit it. Even my mom, I found out from my mom, when my sister got married to an Italian, the stuff that came out of my mom's mouth, I couldn't believe it.
Sure.
And that's when the true feelings come out. So she always taught us, don't be prejudiced, don't be prejudiced. We're all the same, we're all the same. Well, come to find out, we're not all the same.
What do you mean?
From what she was saying.
Oh, we're not all treated the same.
No, not all treated the same.
Yeah, because we're all the same. We're just not treated the same sometimes.
Well, when you say we're all the same, what do you mean by that?
We all need to wake up in the morning. We all have stinky breath. We usually have to take a piss. And at least I do. I know most people probably have to take a piss when they wake up. And you probably want to eat breakfast. You probably have desires to have companionship. You probably, most people probably are family oriented. They care about their kids. They care about their families. They care about having things in life. And I think in a basic sense, as living beings, we all have the identical basic similarities in what we desire and what we want out of life.
So in other words, you're saying we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all human, and we're all created by what? The same? Were we all created the same?
I don't really... so I would say yes. And if we weren't, then who would do that creation? What type of creator would do a creation where he says, oh, these ones are better than these ones? Because we see that now. We see some rhetoric floating around in the world right now where there's a group of people saying that they're better than everybody else and they're the chosen people. And it's like, hey man, like, I want you to have everything the same as everybody else, but don't go around saying that everybody else is less than you and that you're a chosen person.
Okay, I've heard this all my life, where everybody around me said, look, Gary, you're just as good as they are because we all put our pants on the same way. My dad grabs me and pulls me aside and says, no, we don't. We don't all put our pants on the same way. Some start with the left leg, some start with the right. Some people are right-handed, some are left-handed. Some people are actually smarter than other people. So when you define that word same, mm-hmm. you can only use it in the context of we're all human.
Gotcha.
So some of us are better than others. We had this conversation before, like my dad said to me, son, what would you rather be? Would you rather be good, really good, or would you want to be lucky? Well, Dad, I want to be good. Says, son, I don't care how good you are. There's one thing that being good will never beat: luck.
Yeah, that's true a lot of times.
Yeah. But you just never know when the luck runs out.
No, I guess what I mean is we as humans exploit other humans who at a particular time in history may not have the firepower that one group has, may not have the strength, and the power that one other group of people have at that time, rather than saying, oh, okay, these people we could just take them out. But why would we even think to take them out? Why do we want to affect them? That's what I mean, Good
point. I like that. But then I go to, you read the story about David and Goliath. Were they both equally? Are they equal? Did they both have the same strength? One was smarter than the other.
Sure. Yeah, you're always going to have that. I mean, what the average IQ is, it's 80 to 120, and so the average would be 100. Mm-hmm. The average IQ is 100, and I would say 100 is you kind of be a little goofy sometimes and maybe not make the right decisions. And I don't know, maybe David was he's a 140 or something. He's smarter. Just thought something different than Goliath did.
He was guided by something stronger. It wasn't his ability. It was something greater than his own ability.
Sure.
He had faith.
Yeah.
Faith.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you were a journalist. And were you an independent journalist at that time? Independent journalist. And man, so you've went to Vietnam, you said 25 times, you said?
At least 25 times. They know me well there. A black man walking down in Vietnam, I could never get lost because people always knew where I was going, where I was staying, what I was doing. And when I'd go into like some place to eat or whatever was bad, little kids would come up and grab me and drag me away. I said, no, you don't want to go there. They show me a different place. Take care of me.
Well, but I'm sure there was other black kids there. I'm sure there's white kids there.
Oh, they were white.
Oh, yeah. I met this Vietnamese kid one time. Let's talk about that. Blew my mind. I knew these Asian guys, and I was talking to them one day, and there was a white guy with them, which I thought was a white guy. And he actually looked like clean cut, looked like a soldier kind of guy, like clean cut, whatever. And he didn't speak any English. The white guy. And I told my friend, I said, what is that? What is it? Who is this guy? And he's like, he's Vietnamese. I said, I just kind of thought for a second, and I said, is how old is he? I think I asked him at the time how old he was. And this was probably around 2000. And he told me the kid was like 25 or 30 or something.
Yeah.
And it's right away in my mind, I was like, oh, really? And he just looked at me. My friend looked at me and said, yeah, he's one of those kids. And because we all know there's a lot of kids over there that are from the American soldiers.
Right. Yeah. A lot.
So, I mean, I thought it's interesting. It comes out of a tragic situation with a lot of death and a lot of killing and war. But at the same time, I see beauty in those things.
Good things came from it as well.
Because you just see this thing it's like, wow, check out this human who's white and is speaking Vietnamese and speaks no English. You're like, whoa, look at this. This is crazy. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I even run across black guys there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That speak Vietnamese.
Yeah.
No English,
yeah.
Vietnamese.
Yeah.
And if you go to like Dalat, you're going to find some Vietnamese people darker than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably see a lot of white Vietnamese then, right?
Well, when you say white, a lot of them...
Well, mixed with the soldiers, from the soldiers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just embrace them. They're not outcasts or anything, huh?
There's no I've never run across prejudice in Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, people are curious.
Right.
But not prejudice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I mean...
I've heard like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, like all these places are like really, really friendly countries.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they treat you. Let me just put it this way: they treated me great. Never had a problem with them. Even the men, women, whatever. Now, going to Japan is a different story.
Yeah?
Yeah, this was something. My wife and I were going to travel to Japan this last year, and we didn't end up going. And some people that had been there said, be prepared. Yeah. They're not going to be rude to you, but they're going to tell you that you can't go into this restaurant or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you or your wife?
My wife. My wife's black, so not me. Yeah.
Really? So you had to go in and get the food?
Well, we didn't end up going.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like present day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of places in China the same way too. You know, if they find out that you're not a tourist, they don't want nothing to do with you.
Oh, but if you're a black tourist, then they're like, yeah, give us your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
You can stay as long as your money runs out, then we want you out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to travel over there. That's my plan. I definitely I've got some family members that are going to be going to Malaysia here probably in the next month or so. And
love it. Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah. And I've been watching some stuff on Vietnam. Is it It's not Vietnam. How do you pronounce it?
Vietnam. All right.
It's just weird to pronounce it like that because of the war. It's just a stigma. But Vietnam is really, really a nice place from what I've seen.
Vietnam is this is my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in the world. And the reason it's so beautiful now, there's all countries are over there investing money into it. I mean, the countryside is just beautiful. Even the United States still paying for it.
Oh, they're still cleaning up bombs.
Yeah, we're still paying for it.
Yeah.
And the countryside is just beautiful.
Yeah, I was just watching something. They're still cleaning up bombs, and they're still looking for soldiers' bodies. So they're still doing they do the radar and all the metal detection for the bombs and the radar for graves, and they're doing all that still.
I don't think they'll ever, because a lot of the documentations have been destroyed. And it's the generation now is changing. They just don't care.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just don't care anymore.
It's not as important.
Yeah, it's in the past.
Yeah.
Leave it in the past and let's move on.
So tell us what else you've seen from those documents you're talking about.
Oh, most of it is the different countries that were involved and how they were involved and the political side. Even on the United States side, there was a lot of money being channeled into Vietnam that ended up in the Viet Cong's hands. And they used that against American soldiers. Now, I talked to this one.
Do you think that was intentional, or you think it was by accident?
No, it's intentional. American people and families didn't want their sons and daughters in Vietnam either. No more than the Vietnamese people wanted them there. Or let me put it this way, no more than the Viet Cong soldiers wanted them there. And even the propaganda that was going on during the time, all of the riots and stuff that was happening, that was set in place. And so many people burning their draft cards and stuff, that was put in place. That didn't just happen. There was a government movement. The only way you're going to get our people out of there is to turn around and walk away. Now, understand, the United States have never walked out of a war without winning it. This is the first time they've turned their back and walked out of something and did not, well, you might as well say it the way it really happened. They turned and ran because they knew could not win.
But when you say the government was funding the North, that was the North Viet Cong.
Viet Cong.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would they give them money?
That money was helped to, well, again, like I was telling you about, the southern part of Vietnam was against the Viet Cong.
Right.
That was their opposition. Matter of fact, the United States having a lot of soldiers that they trained in Vietnam to fight the Viet Cong soldiers. And that money is what kept them going. Take away that money, it was easier for the Viet Cong soldiers to take over southern part of Vietnam.
Oh, so you're saying they were giving money to the southern?
Right.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the northern Vietnamese.
To keep the opposition going.
Yeah. Because it started off as a political conflict in Vietnam. I mean, that's what, at least what's in the history books.
That's what's in the history books. But the political thing was, did not want United States in Vietnam. Same way as in Korea. Look, we got kicked out of Korea right into Vietnam. Same way. The southern part of Korea, the northern part of Korea was trying to take over the southern part of Korea. They wanted the whole thing. And the United States went in there and helped the South Korea fight against the North, which worked. But it did not work in Vietnam.
Right.
Did not work.
Yeah.
Didn't work in Italy either.
Yeah, I had seen, forget about your microphone there. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to make sure everybody can hear you. I had seen on one of those documentaries that I was watching that actually General McCarthy left. Was it McCarthy? No, wait. Am I saying that right? Who was the general that put the line between North and South Korea?
Ooh.
Can you look that up, Michael? Who's the one that drew the 38th parallel or whatever that was? That same general, who was it?
MacArthur. That MacArthur had left, like you're saying, that war had just ended. He had left Korea and then went to Vietnam and did the same thing and just like, here's our line we need to hold.
Right.
So I'm sure there was more thought behind it than just drawing a line on a piece of paper. But it was when they said that in that documentary, I said, oh, that's the same thing you did over there. Is he just going around just drawing lines on parallels and saying, here? I'm sure it was strategic, though.
See, now, Donald Trump tried to do that, too, with Canada. So somebody just went in Canada and drew this line. So that's why he's saying Canada should actually belong to us. Because somebody just drew a line.
Well, I think it was more than that. I thought, was it?
But that's what he said.
Yeah. I think it was another group of people that said, hey, we got this land. It's ours. Yeah. I don't know. What do you do with that guy? He does a lot of talking.
Yeah, but you can't believe even an ounce of what he talks about. But anyway,
it's hard. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so man, you have spent so much time in Vietnam, but I don't want to get stuck there because there's so many other things I want to hear from you. Tell me, so that's the one book that
right, called Just One Moment in Time.
Just One Moment in Time. That talks about a lot of your travels
right.
and dealings with and just your experiences in Vietnam.
Right.
And then there's another book, Rhythm.
That was the last one I just finished up not too long ago, a couple of years ago. But there was one in between that's called Moral Obligation.